Hi, I'm Sarah Rawnsley. I'm the head teacher of Newby Primary School in Bradford 5, and I'm at the end of my 32-year career. I think over the years, I've been a head teacher since 2006, and one of the key pieces of learning that I have had is that as a head teacher, never hide anything from your governors. If we're going to be a profession that is credible and have a real sense of doing the right thing for our children and families, then when we make mistakes, own them. And the governors are your critical friend. So hence, when we are in governing body meetings, I am happy to accept challenge. And that challenge, if it's not there, I prompt and say, now ask me a question about that because I want to tell you about that. And governors are really good at that, and they've taught them, it sounds a bit patronising, but I don't mean it patronisingly, over the years I've led governors into being able to feel confident at giving challenge, because it's only through challenge that we do grow. And it's only through challenge and that growth that we can make things better. If we don't ever challenge it, the status quo stays the same. Same old, gives same old, same old. So we have to just challenge each other and get those difficult questions out, because if I don't have the answer, I'm happy to say I don't have the answer, but I'll find out. And that growth in your own confidence as a leader means that you can have really productive relationships with your governors. Never hide a thing. Just accept it and welcome the challenge. It's usually always for the betterment of yourself and the children.
I'm Fiona Mear. I'm one of the co-head teachers at Low Ash Primary.
I'm Beth Medhurst. I'm the other co-head teacher at Low Ash Primary School, and we've been enrolled together since September 2019. So with regards to governor questioning, it does take time to develop governor skills in this area. We identified it as an area that we needed to develop. So initially we started off with some external training and the types of questions that governors should be asking. We then moved on to providing governors with a framework for their questioning and even prompting them in meetings about, can you ask a question about this area? By providing the documentation a week in advance, it does give all governors a chance to read that and formulate the questions. We do encourage as well that governors sometimes email us questions in advance so we can make sure we have a full thought out response for them.
I think one other thing we realised along the way was that at points we gave them too much information. So they had so much data they didn't need to ask any questions, whereas if you present some data that throws up a natural question, then we made sure that they were able to ask it rather than just having it all answered by default. So we've learned things along the way as well.
And that's a really good point. We've really slimmed back, haven't we, on our head teachers report, for example, so that there are things that they can actually ask, as Fiona said.
And I think now it's been identified as a strength in our recent review that actually governor questioning is pretty good. So we're proud of the journey we've been on with that.
I'm Jackie Walters. I started as a parent governor in the 80s and I've been a governor ever since. I've been a governor at Newby for years and years now. I think it's important to give your head teacher time but not breathe down her neck or his neck. Some chairs of governors maybe would like to go in once a week. I probably think that's too much. I think you should have regular one-to-ones. During the pandemic, when head teachers were firefighting really, and I know they spent all their time just making sure they had enough teachers in school in front of classes, I said, well, let's cancel the one-to-one. I'll send you a list of questions, and you just answer them. And that was okay, because I think you've got to be flexible in that way. You haven't to put the head under pressure, you've got to be there for support and advice. And I suppose being the critical friend as well, asking questions of your head teacher. Are you sure that's right? Have you considered other things? Because you do have, I think as a chair of governors and as governors generally, we have outside perspectives that we're not steeped in education, we're not working it day in, day out, and we've often come from other fields. So I I think we can offer something that's fresh, and also in some ways we represent the community as well, because we've all been parents, or we've worked in the community, or we've got a vested interest in the community that the school serves.
I'm John Skirt, I'm the Executive Head Teacher of Secondary Schools at the Carlton Academy Trust. And obviously there will be occasion for especially if we look at schools where the governing body's overseeing the performance of a head teacher and they're not sure and they don't always know that the information they've been given is correct, and there's a slant or a perception or a variation on information. The NGA are really good, the National Governance Handbook, and it's those support materials that will tell you what you need to do. There is a lot of material online now for governors, and the importance of governors across the country is significant, and that material that's online will help shape you in your decision making. And although you might not always get to the end point you want to, it will steer or shape your conversation with your school leaders to ensure that they're being challenged over that, especially if there's a concern about the performance of an organisation. And sometimes if you're a non-educational governor, challenging a head teacher can be a challenge, because you hear answers that you might perceive to be correct, but actually when you get the National Governance Handbook talks through some of those conversations, what you should be asking, how you might quantify some of that against the data and information that are out there, because that then helps you to hold schools to account, which is an important part of the governance role.
My name's John Devlin, and I'm Executive Head Teacher of the Our Lady Victories, where we are today, St Anne's in Keighley, and also St Joseph's in Keighley and St Anthony's in Shipley. And I work with the Blessed Christopher Wharton Catholic Academy Trust. I've been head teacher here at Our Lady Victories a very long time, 16 years since 2006, and I've been executive head for 7 years with the other schools. I love my job. I'm a Keighley boy and a Keighley Catholic boy, and I'm very privileged to be able to work in the job that I have, and do all I can for the children of Keighley, my hometown, which I love very much. One of the most important roles of a governing body is holding the school leaders to account, in a nice way. Should we call it critical friends, or creating that little bit of healthy tension, but in a very friendly, supportive fashion, of course. But the governors do need to hold school leaders to account. Now, when we had our external review of governance, one of the things that came out of that is we didn't think that the school leaders were getting enough challenging questions. Now, there are different ways of doing this. I mean, over the years, one of the things I have said to the governors is, you might want to ask me now about what I'm doing about reading in Year 4, just so that we get it minuted and so on. And that is about skilling up the governing body and giving them the confidence to ask the kind of questions that they need to be asking. Now, as things have gone on over time, our governors have become much better at this. And what we do is, because we've got a different model with having the 3 schools, we have named governors who are going to go away and look through the head teachers' reports and ensure that they come to the meeting with 3 or 4 key questions that they're going to raise at the point of once we've gone through the head teachers' reports. And since we've started doing that, we've found that it's been very effective. Keeps the school leaders on their toes, knowing full well that they're going to be asked some questions. And I think it also gives the governors confidence that they feel useful, that they're doing the job that they're there to do, that they are asking these questions, that they are holding the leaders to account. And preparing 3 or 4 questions in advance of a governing body meeting, having read all of the documentation beforehand, has made it much easier to have a record of these challenging questions being asked.
I think it's also important that you've got to keep the balance right, because the mantra is that governors get involved in strategic, they hold the school to account, but the head is responsible for operational and day-to-day, and it's really important to get that balance right, I think. I mean, sometimes when it's been a difficult situation and you have to step in as a chair and be a bit more operational, as an experienced chair of governors, I'm asked by the local authority sometimes to support other schools, and sometimes you have to go in and be operational. And I'm thinking of instances where we had to go in and we thought, oh, this is a really healthy budget, and then we realised there was a huge pile of unpaid invoices in the office, so we had to step in and support the office manager to actually prioritise those and work out, you know, where the budget should be. But as soon as that was back in balance, we stepped out and we kept at the right level, I think. So I think that's important.
And I think for every governing body or trustee meeting, it's really essential that the chair is effective at moving the agenda on. You know, you can put times to agenda items, and that's always a good guide, but sometimes the nature of the conversation requires more time than you might allocate, and everything often requires more time, never less. But it is about the chair keeping on control of that and working with the head or the CEO if it's a regular feature that meetings overrun significantly, and working saying, how do we move items on, how do we bring it to a close, how do we warn people that, right, okay, we're coming to the end of this agenda item, what are the key actions out of it, what are we looking to achieve, so that it's not just a discussion forum, there are clear actions out of it and information that might be required for the schools to come back with at some point or the leaders to come back with. But it's about moving that agenda on at pace to ensure that people are effective use of their time, because a discussion can be very, very valuable, but it can also derail from other parts of the agenda items that are as important for the school or the trust development. And I think you have to remember that no matter how talented or an individual is, at some point they will lose focus and lose their effectiveness decreases over time the more tired they get. And it's important that as a trust board that you continue to manage that, and led by the chair of trustees or the CEO, whoever's chairing the meeting, to ensure that you're on time, on pace, but you're efficient and effective at what you do. So it is a really, really important job, because if it's not done well, meetings drag on, people get tired, decisions don't get made or get put back, and it slows your progress down as an organisation. So that effectiveness is really important, that the person doing it, it's a very highly skilled job, and it's something that probably takes time to get used to, but an effective chair will do it very well and keep the pace going so that school can continue to move.